So the last episode, we left off with, let's see, where were we? In Minot, North Dakota.
In Minot. Did we make it to? Did we go to Missoula yet? Did we talk about it?
I don't think we did. We may have touched on it just a little bit, but so Missoula, Montana. That was at a place called, does it say Jay's Upstairs?
Yeah. Apparently, that same year, the White Stripes played there.
So was that, what was that place? Was it a bar? Was it?
Kind of.
It was a club.
Yeah, it was a club. We opened it up for that comedy group, like that improv comedy group.
Oh yeah, that place. Okay.
Very strange.
Yeah, it was one of those where there was like 8 people in a group.
Yeah,
that toured and did improv comedy all over the place, and they were there for like a month or two. I guess they played there a bunch.
Don't mind me
in that month.
I gotta eat my.
Yeah, and that was probably the only time we've ever done something like that where we opened for this comedy. Well, did we open or they opened for us?
I think we opened for them.
I think we played first, and there was a bunch of people there waiting to see comedy that were like staring at us with cowboy hats on and stuff. Yeah.
Did we? I'm trying to
watch us like this isn't funny.
Yeah, this isn't funny at all.
Did we? It seems like we kind of like. Did we go back out into the audience and watch their show, their comedy thing? Okay. Yeah, I kind of remember that. It was one of those things like, somebody give me an occupation.
Right.
Somebody's like plumber,
It was like way cheesy. Yeah.
It was funny though. I remember it being funny.
We hung out with some of the people after that show.
That's right.
We went over to like someone's house or something, like got cleaned up.
Well, yeah, because they rented a house for like a month or two. And they invited us over there to come hang out, and we did. I think we spent the night there, I believe.
No, we didn't. We drove. We just left.
We did. Okay.
Yeah,
because we were going. So before the show was North Dakota to Montana. Oh, how long of a drive is that? Wow, that's like almost 12 hours. Well, I guess that sounds right, because from Minot to Missoula was about 12 hours, about 11 and a half hours.
I do remember driving.
But I was looking at the directions for that show, the contract. I think the load-in time was like 9:30, so we probably left
late,
really early that morning.
Wow. And
I'm not real sure if we actually played that Sunday in Minot, because we had that same show on that Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't remember playing twice there. Maybe
I don't remember playing twice there.
Yeah, I don't remember. I do remember getting there and it being dark though at this Missoula, Montana.
Yeah, we came in the back, like through an alley. Right.
Yeah.
There's an alley.
Does that look familiar?
No alley.
Not really, but
see, that building,
it was dark though.
New. Like there's so much new construction there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we drove like all night. That's also the one where we went to the gas station in the middle of the night, and you used the card when the gas station.
That when that was in Montana.
Really?
Yep.
Was it after that?
Yep.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, because the next show that we drove to was, let's see.
I just remember on that drive being in the van, and it seemed like it was probably the next morning, driving across Montana. You could see the mountains in the distance, but they were like so far away. They looked close, but it's still hours and hours to get there.
Yeah.
And I remember it was kind of flat, and there's no trees. And where we were, maybe this was on the way to that show even, I don't know. But seeing a train, like a freight train, who knows how many miles away, because you could see forever there. It's so clear and clean, and the whole train was probably 2 inches long in my view, looking out the window. And I remember just laying there looking out the window, laying on the bench in the van, staring at that train we were riding like parallel with for probably an hour. Just seeing that 2-inch long train, probably 30, 40 miles away, 20 miles away, whatever it was.
Whenever I talk with people, we're talking about places and talking about, especially when it comes to mountains, people are like, oh, I've never seen the mountains out west. I've seen like North Carolina. I'm like, I always tell that story about Montana. It was coming into Montana from North Dakota. It was like the first time I really saw the mountains out there, like the really big ones in the Rockies, was like, we see this mountain and we drive at this thing for hours and hours and hours. And we think like, we're like, oh man, we're going to see this anytime now. And by the time we actually got to the mountains, it was nighttime and we drove at it all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we were all excited because there's like snow on the top. We're like, wow, there's snow on the top of the mountain. We're going to drive through some snow.
Yeah.
And then like 6 hours later, they're the same distance they were. Yeah. Very cool.
So if you see this map that I shared, here's Missoula. Here's where we're going, Sacramento.
Now, we didn't take that route, though.
No, we did not. That would have been, this would have been the smart way to go.
We went through Spokane, Washington, and we stopped in Spokane, and we went to a few places to see if we could just get a show going or something.
Yeah, let's see.
I remember going to the library there just to get on the internet. Check email and stuff.
But yeah, we went to Spokane. I remember walking to a few places and like, hey, we're a band. Can we play? And they're like, no. Like there was like some like bars or something, and they were like, no, you can't. No.
I'm pretty sure too. On the way there, we stopped in. I'm pretty sure it was Idaho, and I just remember sleeping in the van at a truck stop.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
And it being cold and. Yeah.
We went to a grocery store and we bought some like hot dogs. We started a fire on the side of the road and we didn't have much to burn. We tried to burn the plastic from the hot dog package and it made everything stink.
On the side of the road?
Yeah, we pulled over somewhere.
Well, I remember we found a campground somewhere.
Yeah. It was like right off the side of the road or like a rest stop or something like that.
Well, I remember because they had like the campground bathrooms, and I remember going in there, and there was just somebody had left. I think some kid probably come in there and turned all the water on. But all the water was running.
Oh yeah.
I remember turning it off, and, but then after that, I remember getting in trouble because we were cooking hot dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that? I don't know why we got. I guess we probably didn't pay to be there. We were just like, all right, let's just pull over and eat. Or something real quick,
And then we took some we got off the interstate. We were taking some back road. And I remember there was like this canyon, and it was like really cool. And it was like if we had stayed on the interstate, we never would have seen that area. It was a really cool detour to take. And that's when we realized, we're not going to drive out to Seattle because we're not going to be able to jump on a show. So let's just try to get over to Sacramento. And we took some back roads until we hit I-5. Because that's how you got on the internet. You had to go to a library.
That's where the internet lived. That's where the internet used to live.
You couldn't carry it around in your pocket with you.
So that was the only time I've ever been to Washington, Oregon, those places. And I don't remember. I know what you're talking about, the little place we drove through, and it was cool looking, but we didn't really get to do or see anything. You lived there for a while, didn't you, Chris? Didn't you move up?
Yeah, I lived a little bit east of Seattle in a place called Snoqualmie, right in the mountains. And it's beautiful.
So you saw all the redwoods and the West Coast, rocky coasts up there.
Oh, yeah. Man, it's awesome.
I regret not seeing all that while we were out there.
We would go vacation in Cannon Beach, where the Goonies was filmed.
Oh, yeah?
That beach scene where they're racing in the 4-wheel drives.
Okay.
And that coast, it's so pretty out there. It was just when COVID shut everything down, it was just really rough on the kids. And we're like, all right, we gotta go back to where we can be closer to family.
Yeah.
So, but it's beautiful. The West Coast is, man, it's so pretty out there. It's another world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. driving through and saw the mountains and saw Montana in the course of 3 or 4 days. But I would love to go spend some more time there, see more of that. I don't really care too much to go to, Southern California. Or, you know what I mean? That's you see enough of that on TV and been there, seeing it. It was kind of dirty, whatever.
So what I'm hearing is we need to set this tour up and we'll go hit the small towns.
I don't think they have Waffle House. Do they have Waffle House up there though?
They do have Waffle House. Yeah.
It was a Denny's. Oh yeah. I think we were dead broke.
Yeah. I would say I think that we were down pretty low because this is when we stayed with Kendall. Didn't he give us like a bucket of change, like a big thing of like a bunch of coins because we had to get the oil change while we were there. And I remember they messed up the oil change. They put like the old gasket got stuck and it came off, so they had to go and refill it up. But I remember we had like this big container of coins that he gave us because we were hurt. Although we did play some good shows over there, they just weren't good thing.
And I'm pretty sure we were living off of merch money because I think we were dead broke and we were running out of merch too because we were going to get some more stuff shipped to us. I think at Kendall's, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we were dead broke and drove all night. And sun comes up. And Chris is driving, so we didn't have any choice. What happened? And Chris just decides we're going to eat at Denny's. He pulls in Denny's. And we're like, we don't have any money to eat at Denny's. Chris was like, oh, I know. I'll be right back. Just jumps out of the van and goes in. I'm not even sure if they were even, I guess there are 24 hours. So there's nobody else in the parking lot but us. I think we were in the van like, what the heck is Chris? Does he like have diarrhea or something? What is he going to Why is he going to Denny's?
Well, you know me and getting up early, right?
Right. Yeah, that was like a low point, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And then Chris just comes back to the van and says, all right, come on, let's go eat. Yeah, what was the conversation in the
Denny's? You see that tall, blonde, spiky-haired one right there?
Yeah, right.
No, I honestly, I don't really recall exactly what I asked, but I mean, I had done that a few times at places like, hey, look, we're traveling, we have no money, we'll give you like some CDs or something, can we just get like because what is it, like $1.99 for a Grand Slam or something? Like,
no, not now anyway.
Not now, but like back then it was like, that was like their advertisement, like $1.99, are you out of your mind kind of thing.
Maybe.
And I was just like, what do they have to, what do we have to lose? The worst they can say is no. Like, no, you can't eat. I mean, we're obviously not like, like the typical people running around, like that they would see every day. I mean, if we were begging, at least we're driving town to town begging, right? So
we'll see that right there where you said, what are they going to say? No, you can't eat. So yeah, that's what they would say. That's what a restaurant would say if you went in and said, hey, I don't have any money, but can I just eat here for free? My mind tells me, yes, they're going to say, no, you can't eat because this is a business and you have to have money.
But they would say ask, right? So that's the worst that could happen is they say no. It wasn't like they were going to be like, shoot this guy.
Right,
he asked for like some hotcakes and crappy eggs. Kill this guy. Like,
they weren't going to shoot us, but I will say, not only did they feed us, they were like super nice to us too. They like treated us like we were, I don't know, paying customers, and talked to us and refills, and it was like, we're coming from the deep south, and here we are in Northern California getting Southern hospitality, for some what I remember being delicious.
Yeah, I do remember her. Like, I remember you came out and you were like, "They're gonna give us food, but we can only get like the Grand Slam, like the original Grand Slam. That's all." But look at that. That's, I mean, $12.79. That's crazy.
Pancakes,
but that's today.
That's today.
I don't remember being $1.99 ever, but
four guys. I mean, that's $50 easy.
I mean, inflation
let's
is
see, what's the cost of a Grand Slam? $2,000.
Let's see, what's the all American? What's the difference there? $14.79. Okay. Wow. Man, I want to go to Denny's now. I did go eat actually last week. I did go eat Waffle House for lunch.
I would love to go to Waffle House, but no, my family likes to go.
You need to be able to take a nap afterwards and be close to a restroom.
Waffle House Steakhouse.
The original Grand Slam. I'm looking for prices. I'm looking for 2000 prices. Okay, in 1980 it was $1.99. We weren't there in 1980.
Yeah, it might have been like
$5.99, $7.99. I'm seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. So, like on tour with Farewell to Fashion, we broke down in Chapmanville, West Virginia. Like that's when the transmission on the van like split in two. And so we were stuck there, right? We didn't have the money to and we're in Chapmanville, West Virginia. There's nowhere to go with it. So someone hauled it to a dealership for us, and we were stuck there for a week. I probably went into every restaurant in that town and got a free meal. Gotta eat, right? You gotta find a way. So
just off the mentality of what are they going to do? Tell me no, and then that's what you just go in and ask them for food, and they give it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I do. I remember being in there, going in there eating. I remember there was nobody else in the whole restaurant but us because it's like got early, like 6 o'clock in the morning. Or like nobody's up that early but Denny's employees and Chris. Oh yeah.
I doubt we wasted any of that.
Oh, it was awesome. But I just never would have thought that would have not been on my. Hey, let's just pull over to a restaurant. Just ask them if we can just eat for free.
And sometimes the wife and the kids were driving around. I'm like, hey, let's stop in the Longhorns and let's just ask. Kathleen's like, we have the money to pay for. I'm like, no. Let's just ask.
You just never know.
Why spend the $85 to eat there? Let's just see if they'll just give us a steak. So
it works.
Yeah, it worked.
It was good food, and we made it. Made it to the next stop.
Yeah, I remember that place. It was a weird spot. It was like this church. Maybe.
Seemed like a biker. Yeah, seemed like a biker thing.
It was like, I remember like one of the band, I forget the band's name, but there was like one band that we were like, oh man, this band's playing. But then that band couldn't play, like they canceled last minute, and some other band. And there wasn't like a ton of people at the show. Yeah. And we slept like in the church, like on the floor or something. Yes, that's who we wanted to play with, and then they canceled. Yeah. I think they did play. Yeah, they were on Betty Rocket Records, but they were like, it was like, man, these guys are pretty good, and they were like a hardcore metal type thing, and those bands usually, if they're local, they probably had a pretty good following, and then they probably were like, Jeremiah's Grotto, who's that? Nah, we'll do something else on a Thursday night. So.
Oops.
I think I found that Denny's that we ate at.
Yeah, the one in Northern California.
The one, it's Marysville, California.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, I swear this is good. You gotta look this up.
My best
Marysville, California, Denny's. This is it. It still looks, with Street View, it still looks the same. Old. I wish I could remember where it was, because I want to say, David, you and I walked around, like, it had like this weird little square, like almost like a downtown, but it wasn't quite a downtown. Yeah, I don't remember much about playing there. There was a music store somewhere that we walked to, though. And they had,
I do remember that. I do.
That pearl cream color guitar that you played, the Fender. They had one in their store.
Yeah.
And it's the only other time I had seen one. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's another one. But I don't remember where that was at.
They had a baritone guitar that I'd never seen one like that before either.
That was always the best, finding a good music store when you're on the road.
Yeah.
Going and looking in a music store, even though you couldn't afford anything.
The things we used to do whenever, before like cell phones, and we had to, like we just
get some new picks and some new strings.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like a pawn shop or music store. I do remember that.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but it was pretty close by.
Yeah.
Or we like, if you go and you'd find a record store, spend like an hour in a record store looking at everything that you had no money to buy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Might as well have been like at a car lot looking at new cars, because it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything else about that show?
I remember, like, for food, there was like some old pizza and like a bunch of like really bad junk food that they, like, when we stayed the night, they were like, here's food, and it was like chips and pretzels and
yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if this qualifies as food, but we'll take it because it's free. And
all we've had to eat today was a free breakfast at Grand Slam breakfast.
I don't think we can go back to Denny's. I think we've, once a year is probably getting them up for a free meal. But we did spend a lot of time there. We did get there early in the morning at this venue. We got there, and it was like, we have a whole day that we have to kill here, wherever this is. So
yeah, and I will say, I mean, I don't think our mind wasn't really on this show because we knew where we were headed. I mean, we were so remember, leading all the way up for this tour, we weren't the only band on Screaming Giant Records that were headed out to California.
Yeah,
because Screaming Giant Records was doing their label, kind of like a showcase show at Chain Reaction, and pretty much all the bands that were on Screaming Giant Records, I believe, were there.
Well, so when we left this show, this is where we were driving, and Joel just was like, I'm done. Like, when we hit LA traffic, and the van, he didn't
really?
He didn't put in park. He just
he was driving, and we let him drive in LA.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was in the passenger seat, and he was like annoyed. He was tired, and so he was cranky. And he just got up, and the van's still rolling down the interstate, and there's traffic, there's cars everywhere, and I jump over really quick and like, what are you doing? And I remember I was really mad at him for doing that.
Man.
But then we got to Kendall's house, and Kendall treated us really well. He had food, and we had like, places to sleep, and like
I was gonna say, I remember there just being people like everywhere at Kendall's house, though, like on the floor, because other bands were like already claimed a spot.
He made us a lot of good food, though. Like his wife and them, they were trying to take care of all these people who were there. I remember eating really well.
So all those bands were there hanging out, but I remember spending a lot of time with Kendall.
Yeah, because and this is also when we came out there and we played the showcase for Drive-Thru.
Right.
So we get there, but this is like where things got weird too, though, right? So the show that was set up in Anaheim I had talked to Kendall before this tour, and I said, hey, look, we're coming out to California. Can you help us out with a show? And then he's like, well, why don't I book it at Chain Reaction? And we know what Chain Reaction is, but like, we don't have any connections there. And we're like, yeah, okay. And he's like, what about, playing with like 7-10 Split? Like, okay, that'd be cool. We like those guys. And then he turned into like Screaming Giant Fest or whatever he called it. And it was a really big show, like well beyond the capacity of the venue, which was really cool. I remember playing there was a blur. Like, I think, did we open up with like month of May, I think, and then everything just went so fast because you didn't really have a set.
Was it a short set?
Yeah, it was a short set.
2 songs. I'm looking at Chain Reaction. It's still kicking, of course.
I would think so.
And that same show that you're talking about that y'all are going to in Atlanta is going to be there April 4th. Arm's Length, Charlie Cosgrove, Ben Quad. 1652 West Lincoln Avenue, Anaheim.
Yeah, there it is.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. It was packed. I remember you couldn't even walk in there.
Yeah. I remember we were trying to get to the stage to play, and we had to go through the crowd. We were back in the green room, and it was like, yo, we got to get through here. This is not the where's the stage at in here? There it is.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. I remember the stage being small and you coming in from the side and it was awkward and sounded bad.
They were way over capacity. This place was.
Yeah, because when we went out and came back around and came back through this other door and was trying to weed through the crowd just to get where we could see, I remember it was like impossible to get around where you could even see anything.
Yeah, it was hot and just sticky, and there was no room to maneuver. But it was fun. That was a really fun show. Yeah, what was Bullfest? Yeah. But we were really excited to get down here because we knew we were doing that showcase with Drive-Thru. We also played the Knitting Factory.
Yeah.
And that's where we ran into Mark Wolfson, right? Yeah, I remember that house show. I remember we played like in like a living room. And I just thought like it was kind of surreal. Like it felt weird going into someone else's house on the opposite side of the country from where we're from, people that we don't know,
Yeah.
Like we played house shows before, it was usually like, the person.
Right. Yeah, that was, yeah.
This felt almost like, so we broke into this place and we're just doing this, right? Like that's what we're doing tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even remember this playing at all. I do remember the house. I remember the bus, everything you talked about, the other band, but I can't picture actually playing.
I remember it was a good show. I remember there was a lot of kids there.
Yeah. I remember, having fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Somewhere, maybe it was after this whole California thing, but I want to say it was while we were out there, we played a skating rink too.
We did.
But
I think that's something
maybe it's
we just added later. But yeah, we played like it was like a skating rink, but they had some like skateboard stuff set up there.
And I think it somehow linked to this house show because I think it was like a band that was playing at this show invited us to come play the skating rink.
That's
I think
possible. Yeah. We did a lot of stuff when we were in California that time because we did that house show, then the Knitting Factory, which led to the showcase for Mark Wolfson, the showcase for Drive-Thru Records, and that skating place.